Rain pours down in relentless sheets, soaking the battered for rent sign that swings outside the apartment complex. James Carter stands with his wife Naomi and their daughter Layla, water streaming down the back of his neck as he straightens. His jacket, Naomi's grip, tightens around Layla's hand, both shielding the girl and steadying herself. The security guard at the entrance watches them approach, his posture stiffening, thumb pressing against his radio, as if expecting trouble. Inside, the lobby is bright and cold, the kind of space meant to impress but not welcome. The receptionist glances up, her expression unreadable, then drops her gaze to the appointment book. "Appointments only," she says, barely moving her lips. Naomi's voice is calm but firm. "We called yesterday, Carter family." There's a pause, a flicker of uncertainty in the receptionist's eyes as she scans the list, then nods them forward. Through the glass walls of his office, Gregory Hartwell observes the family's approach. He leans back in his chair, feet resting on the polished desk, fingers drumming a slow rhythm. As James hands over their document space stubs references a credit report, the receptionist's nails tap the address line, her gaze lingering, just a moment too long on the name of their old neighborhood. Gregory's voice comes through the intercom, clipped and distant. "Send them in?" Naomi smooths her blouse, her hand trembling for just a second before she lets it fall to her. Side Layla clutches her toy robot, the red light blinking in her palm. Gregory greets them with a tight smile, the kind that never reaches his eyes. "Lovely family," he says, voice syrupy. "But these units require financial stability." James meets his gaze, steady and unflinching. "We qualify." Gregory's lips curl slightly. Applications are subjective. The glass walls fracture the family's reflection, splitting them into pieces. Naomi gathers their paperwork, her wedding band catching the light. For a moment, James remembers his father, standing at a bank counter years ago, dignity bruised by rejection. Layla's robot slips from her hand and skitters across the floor. Gregory nudges it toward the trash with his shoe, not bothering to look at the child. Naomi's voice is low, but it cuts through the tension. "We'll be back." As they leave, the rain-soaked sign outside groans in the wind. A reminder that some doors are meant to keep people out, but not forever. Before the story continues, please let us know from where you are watching this video. Write your city or country in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit like if you believe in stories that challenge injustice. Your engagement gives power to voices that need to be heard. Gregory Hartwell's office is a study in deliberate opulence. The surface of his desk gleams every object: crystal penholder, leather-bound planner, gold-rimmed photo frame placed with calculated precision. As James and Naomi step inside, Layla trailing close. Gregory's eyes flicker to the family's damp shoes, a faint crease forming between his brows. He gestures toward the chairs, his movement practiced but lacking warmth. Naomi sits first, smoothing her skirt, her posture upright and composed. James lowers himself beside her, hands folded neatly over the folder of documents. Layla perches on the edge of her seat, robot clutched tightly to her chest. Gregory leans forward, fingers steepled, his gaze settling on the folder. "Let's see what we have here," he says, voice smooth but distant. He flips through their paperwork, pausing on the credit report, then the reference letters. His lips press together as he scans the address, eyes darting up to meet James's. "You've been at your current residence. How long?" he asks, tone neutral but edged, with something sharper. 7 years, James replies, his voice steady. "Never miss a payment." Gregory nods, but his attention lingers on the neighborhood name. He makes a small note in the margin, pen barely making a sound. Naomi watches his hands, noting the way his grip tightens on the pen whenever her husband answers confidently. She exchanges a glance with James's silent agreement not to show frustration. Gregory's questions continue, each one more pointed than the last, probing for weakness. "Stable employment?" "Yes." "Savings?" "Documented?" "Any?" "Relatives in the area?" "Just us." Layla shifts in her seat, the robot's blinking light reflecting off the disk's surface. Gregory's eyes flick to the toy, then back to the parents, a flicker of annoyance crossing his face. He closes the folder with a soft thud. Everything seems in order, but these decisions aren't made lightly. There are other applicants. His words hang in the air, a dismissal wrapped in courtesy. James meets Gregory's gaze, unblinking. "We'll wait for your decision." Naomi stands, her movements graceful, dignity intact. As they leave, Gregory's fingers resume their slow, deliberate drumming on the polished wood, a faint echo of the power he thinks he holds, and the quiet defiance he fails to see. The glass walls of Gregory Hartwell's office reflect the Carter family's image, fractured, segmented, yet unbroken. James stands firm, his mind drifting to a memory. His father, decades ago, standing at a bank counter, dignity bruised by rejection. The weight of history presses down, but his jaw tightens with resolve. Naomi's hands rest calmly on the folder of documents, her wedding band catching the light. Layla clutches her toy robot, its blinking red light a small beacon of innocence. Amid the tension, the receptionist's eyes flicker with unease as she watches the family, her fingers nervously tapping a pen. Gregory's voice cuts through the quiet, his tone clipped but deliberate. These units require more than just paperwork. They require stability. His gaze lingers on the neighborhood listed on their application, a silent judgment. James meets his eyes steadily. "We meet every requirement." A brief pause. The receptionist clears her throat, glancing away. The glass walls seem to close in, the reflections multiplying the unspoken barriers. Layla's robot slips from her grasp, clattering softly. Gregory's polished loafer nudges it aside, a subtle but pointed dismissal. Naomi's voice is low but firm. "We will not be overlooked." The family turns, their reflections merging into one as they leave the office. Outside, the city's noise swells, but inside, a quiet storm brews a promise of change. The scene fades on the fractured glass, a metaphor for the barriers they face and the strength they carry. James's gaze hardens as he recalls the countless times his family has been sidelined, the invisible lines drawn by prejudice. Naomi's steady breath fills the room, a quiet defiance that anchors them. Layla's small fingers tighten around her robot, a symbol of hope amidst the cold scrutiny. The receptionist shifts uncomfortably, her eyes darting between the family and the polished office. Gregory's fingers drum a slow rhythm on the desk, betraying his unease. His words, though measured, carry the weight of exclusion. Outside, the city moves on, unaware of the quiet battle unfolding within these walls. The fractured reflections in the glass serve as a reminder. The barriers are many. Layla's grip on her toy robot loosens as the family rises to leave, the small plastic figure slipping from her hand and tumbling across the polished floor. Naomi notices, her eyes flicking from the toy to Gregory, who stands behind his desk, arms folded, watching with a hint of impatience. Layla hesitates, glancing at her mother, unsure if she should retrieve it. Naomi gives a gentle nod, but before Layla can move, Gregory's shoe slides forward. He nudges the robot toward the trash can. The gesture casual but unmistakably dismissive. James's jaw clenches, but he says nothing. Naomi's gaze hardens, her lips pressed into a thin line. The receptionist looks away, her face flushing, pretending to be absorbed in her computer screen. Layla stands frozen, her small shoulders tense, eyes fixed on the robot, now lying beside the bin. The moment stretches, heavy with unspoken meaning. Gregory clears his throat, breaking the tension. "You can collect your things," he says, voice flat. Naomi walks over, bends down, and picks up the robot, brushing imaginary dust from its surface. She places it gently back into Layla's hands, her touch lingering as if to shield her daughter from the sting of the moment. Layla's eyes brim with confusion and hurt, but she clings to the toy. Holding it close, James places a reassuring hand on Layla's shoulder, guiding her toward the door. Naomi follows, her head held high, refusing to let the small act of cruelty define them. The receptionist's eyes briefly meet Naomi's, then dart away, guilt flickering across her face. Gregory returns to his desk, shuffling papers with unnecessary force. The room suddenly colder. As the Carters step into the hallway, Layla whispers, "Why did he do that?" Naomi bends down, her voice soft but steady. "Some people try to make you feel small, but we know who we are." James nods, meeting Naomi's eyes with quiet determination. The family walks out together. The toy robot clutched tightly in Layla's hand, the silent promise that this pain will not be forgotten. Naomi pauses at the exit, the weight of everything unsaid pressing on her shoulders. She turns, her voice low but unwavering. "We'll be back." The words land with a quiet finality, lingering in the air long after the family steps away. James stands beside her, jaw set, eyes sweeping the lobby as if memorizing every detail. Layla squeezes her mother's hand, her small fingers tightening with a mix of confusion and hope. Behind the front desk, the receptionist's posture shifts. She glances up, her gaze meeting Naomi's for a fleeting second before dropping back. To her paperwork, it's a small movement, but it betrays a crack in the building's carefully maintained indifference. Gregory, still seated at his desk, watches the family leave. His fingers tap a slow, uneven rhythm on the wood. The confidence that filled the room earlier now feels brittle, as if the smallest pressure could break it. He glances at the door, the echo of Naomi's words unsettling him more than he'd admit. Outside, the rain has eased to a gentle drizzle. The battered for rent sign sways, its movement oddly hopeful. The city's noise resumes, but inside the building, something has shifted. A reckoning, quietly brewing. James's mind drifts to memories of his father, the sting of rejection passed down like a silent inheritance. Naomi's steady breath beside him is a reminder. This fight is bigger than one family. Layla looks up, her eyes wide and searching. "Why will we come back?" she asks, her voice barely above a whisper. Naomi kneels, meeting her daughter's gaze. "Because we deserve to be seen, to be heard, to have a home." James nods, the resolve in his eyes matching hers. The three of them step into the rain, their silhouettes framed by fractured glass of family, unbroken, ready to challenge the walls that tried to keep them out. The scene closes on the swaying sign, a symbol of exclusion and the promise of change. Side by side, James moves behind the apartment building, the ground soft beneath his shoes from last night's rain. His eyes land on a battered cardboard box, half collapsed beside the dumpster. He kneels, fingers brushing away mud, and lifts the lid. Inside, stacks of papers application forms, each stamped in bold red. Insufficient credit, he flips. Through them, recognizing names and faces from the neighborhood. Families who never got a call back or a chance to explain. Naomi joins him, her breath catching as she sees the growing pile. She lifts a form, reading a single mother's handwritten note. "My son has asthma. We need a safe place." The words tremble on the page, echoing the weight of every rejection. Naomi's hands shake as she sorts through more files of veterans. Young couples all denied for reasons that feel less like chance and more like design. James's jaw clenches. The memory of his own father's disappointment surfacing. He remembers stories whispered at family gatherings, the quiet pain of being turned away, always with a different excuse. He looks at Naomi, eyes burning with resolve. "This isn't just us," he says quietly. "It's everyone." Naomi's voice is barely above a whisper. "This isn't a mistake, it's a system." She glances at James, her expression steely. "And we're going to break it." They share a silent moment, a pact forming in the damp alley. As they close the box, the red stamps seem to glare up at them, a challenge and a promise. The evidence is undeniable, now a pattern of exclusion, hidden in plain sight. The Carters stand, the box between them, their resolve hardening. What was meant to be forgotten has become the beginning of something bigger. The scene ends with James and Naomi carrying the box away. A quiet rebellion sparked in the shadow of the building. James stands in a dimly lit room, the weight of a worn file heavy in his hands. The veteran's application marked lost 3 times. Bears faded notes in the margins, to assertive, unstable words that echo systemic dismissal. His jaw tightens as memories flash each hopeful visit to the office, each polite inquiry met with silence or excuse. Naomi watches quietly, her eyes reflecting the veteran's quiet pain. She reaches out, placing a steady hand on James's arm, a silent vow of solidarity. The room is thick with unspoken stories, the air heavy with the ghosts of those denied. Evelyn, the retired journalist, steps forward, her gaze sharp and resolute. She holds the file with reverence, as if cradling decades of silenced voices. "This isn't just one man's fight," she says softly. "It's a pattern, a system built to exclude." James nods, determination hardening his features. The veteran's face, worn but proud, lingers in his mind, a symbol of resilience amid erasure. The Carters share the file with Evelyn, their alliance deepening, the fight expanding beyond their family. Outside, the city moves unaware, but inside, a quiet revolution stirs. The files, the stories, the faces, they are no longer invisible. The system's cracks begin to show. The foundation trembling under the weight of truth. James's eyes narrow, voice low but fierce. They thought silence would bury us. It won't. Naomi steps forward, her tone steady. Every lost file is a story waiting to be told. Evelyn nods, adding, "And we're the ones who will tell it." The room fills with a quiet determination, the weight of years. Lifting slightly, James closes the file gently, a symbol of respect and resolve. Outside, the city's hum continues, unaware of the storm gathering within these walls. The camera lingers on the file's red stamps, a stark reminder of the battles ahead. The scene fades with a slow zoom on James's clenched fist, of change burning bright. Evelyn's basement is a sanctuary of stories, the walls lined with filing cabinets overflowing with decades of denied housing claims. The air is heavy, thick with dust, and the quiet ache of lives turned away. She pulls open a drawer marked Hartwell Complex, revealing folders crammed with faded papers, each one a testament to exclusion and loss. Her fingers pause on a black and white photograph of Gregory Hartwell, smiling at a community meeting, his expression polished and impenetrable. In these images, he is always at the center, shaking hands, masking the barriers he built. As Evelyn flips through letters and complaints, many buried beneath layers of bureaucracy, the past and present collide in the hush of the room. James stands beside her, absorbing the gravity of the evidence. His jaw tightens, memories of his father's struggles, surfacing stories of doors closed and dignity denied. Naomi's hand rests lightly on his shoulder, a steadying presence that anchors him amid the storm of revelation. Evelyn's voice breaks the quiet, low and resolute. These files are more than paper, their lives ignored, futures stolen. She spreads out a handful of documents on the table, the names and dates blurring into a pattern of injustice. The pain is palpable, but so is the determination in her eyes. A soft knock interrupts, and a junior analyst steps in, holding a folder of fresh documents. She offers a hesitant smile, her eyes reflecting the burden they all share. The room feels smaller, the fight larger, as the analyst quietly joins their circle. Together, they sort through the evidence, the weight of history pressing down but also propelling them forward. Outside, the city moves on, unaware of the quiet revolution brewing. Below, inside, the archive is no longer a tomb of forgotten dreams, but a beacon of truth, ready to illuminate the darkness. The scene lingers on Evelyn's determined face, the weight of history balanced by unwavering resolve. The soft click of a filing cabinet closing seals a promise that these stories will not be lost again. The hallway is empty except for the quiet shuffle of the janitor's worn shoes. He pauses outside the Carter's apartment, glancing over his shoulder before slipping a tarnished key into James's palm. His eyes meet James's for a fleeting moment, no words, just a nod heavy with risk and solidarity. The metal is cold, the gesture warmer than any welcome they've received so far. James closes his hand around the key, understanding the trust it represents. Naomi watches from the doorway, her expression shifting from curiosity to gratitude as she realizes what's been offered. The janitor moves on, pushing his cart, his back a little straighter despite the weight of years spent unseen. Inside, James and Naomi examine the key, uncertainty and hope mingling in the air. "It's for Gregory's office," James murmurs, voice barely above a whisper. Naomi's eyes widen, the implications settling between them. They wait until the building quiets, then slip down the hall, Layla asleep and unaware. The key turns smoothly in the lock, the door opening to reveal a space meticulously organized yet cold. James moves to the desk, rummaging through drawers until he finds a thick ledger. He flips through its pages, each entry a record of rent hikes and targeted evictions. Her jaw tightens. Anger and disbelief mingling, a cleaning rag left on the windowsill is the only trace of the janitor's presence, a silent witness to the secrets uncovered. Naomi takes photos of the evidence, her hand steady, her resolve hardening with every click. James places the ledger back exactly as he found it, careful not to leave a trace. As they lock the office and return to their apartment, the key feels heavier in James's pocket. The janitor passes by once more, offering a brief, knowing glance. In that moment, the Carters understand they are not alone. The rebellion has begun, quiet but unstoppable, carried on the backs of those who have waited too long to be heard. Naomi sits on the edge of Layla's bed, the small robot cradled in her hands. Layla's eyes are wide, searching her mother's face for reassurance. James stands by the door, arms crossed, watching as Naomi examines the toy. She presses a button, and the robot's speaker crackles to life. Gregory's unmistakable voice fills the room, mocking, dismissive, dripping with contempt. They'll never fit in here. Mark them for extra screening. Don't waste time. Layla's brow furrows, confusion mixing with hurt. Why is he saying that? Mama Naomi pulls her daughter close, her voice gentle but firm. Sometimes people show who they really are when they think no one's listening. James kneels beside them, his hand resting on Layla's shoulder. You did? Nothing wrong, sweetheart. This isn't about us. It's about him. Naomi replays the recording, her hands trembling. Each word is a blow, but also a revelation. The evidence is clear, undeniable. A child's toy turned into a vessel of truth. James's anger simmers beneath his calm exterior. We have proof. Now, not just stories, his own words. Naomi nods, her resolve hardening. We share this with Evelyn, with everyone. Layla hugs the robot tightly, her small voice barely above a whisper. Will he be in trouble? Naomi brushes a stray curl from her daughter's forehead. He should be, and will make sure people know what he did. James stands, his posture straightener, determination etched across his features. The family gathers around the table, the robot at the Centaura, symbol of innocence and the power of being heard. Naomi records the audio onto her phone, sending it to Evelyn with a short message. Listen to this. Across town, Evelyn's reply is swift. Meet me tomorrow. We're not letting this go. As Layla drifts to sleep, the robot's red light blinks softly. For the first time, the Carters feel the tide shifting. The truth, captured by a child's toy, has found its voice. James slips into the dimly lit community center, Naomi close behind, Layla asleep at home. The room is filled with faces marked by exhaustion and quiet hope. Neighbors, tenants, people whose names have appeared on denied applications and eviction notices. A single mother sits near the door, her son's inhaler clutched tightly in her hand. A retired veteran stands by the window, medals hidden beneath a worn jacket. Eyes scanning the room with wary resolve. Evelyn greets them with a nod, her presence steadying. She lays out the evidence, the robot's recording, the ledger, a stack of letters collected over years. We're not alone, she says, voice low but unwavering. We have what we need to show the truth. The group leans in, listening. As James describes what he and Naomi found, each detail lands heavy, but no one interrupts. The pain is familiar, the pattern clear. A young woman speaks up, her voice trembling. They told me my paperwork was lost 3 times. The veteran nods, jaw set. They called me unstable, said I was too much trouble. The mother's eyes glisten, but she doesn't look away. My son can't breathe in our building. They said there was nothing they could do. Naomi reaches for the mother's hand, squeezing it gently. You're not invisible. Not anymore. Evelyn passes around copies of the evidence, her hands steady despite the weight of what they hold. We bring this to the council. We go public. No more secrets. James looks around the room, meeting each person's gaze. We do this together, quietly, but all at once. The group nods, a silent pact forming in the hush. The veteran offers a rare smile. The mother wipes her eyes. The young woman squares her shoulders as the meeting ends. The group disperses into the night node. The fight is no longer just the Carters. It belongs to everyone who's been waiting in the shadows for their day to come. Evelyn spreads a roll of blueprints across her kitchen table, the paper edges curling from years of neglect. James and Naomi lean in, tracing faded lines with their fingers. This company used to build homes, Evelyn explains, her voice carrying both pride and regret. They abandoned half their projects when the city changed hands. Most were meant for families. Like ours, James studies the plans, noticing addresses from neighborhoods he knows well, places where Empty lots and half-finished foundations stand as silent reminders of broken promises. Naomi's eyes narrow as she reads the notes in the margins. Funding pulled, permit denied, demographics shifted. She looks up, determination sharpening her features. We rebuild what they ignored. Evelyn nods, sliding a folder toward them. The firm's for sale. Cheap. No one wants the headache. James flips through the paperwork, his mind racing. If we buy it, we control what happens next. Naomi's lips curve into a faint smile. We can finish what they started, for everyone who is left behind. The conversation turns practical finances, legal steps, who they'll need to bring on board. Evelyn makes a list of potential allies, architects, community leaders, even the janitor who risked his job for the truth. We'll need people who believe in this, she says. James nods, his resolve deepening. We'll find them. Naomi glances at the blueprints again, her hand resting on a sketch of a playground. I want Layla to see this building. I want every kid to have a place to play. James squeezes her hand, silent agreement passing between them as the meeting winds down. The blueprints are carefully rolled up, no longer relics of failure, but blueprints for change. The Carters step out, into the night, a sense of purpose guiding them. The city's skyline looks different. Not just a collection of buildings, but a map of possibilities waiting to be claimed. Gregory arrives early, the office unnaturally quiet. He notices the janitor's absence, a detail that unsettles him, more than he'd admit. His gaze lingers on the empty cleaning cart in the hallway, then darts to the door of his office. He unlocks it, scanning the room for anything out of place. The desk looks untouched, but he senses something is wrong, a pen slightly askew, a drawer not fully closed. He sits down, shuffling through his paperwork, hands moving faster than usual. The ledger is there, but he flips through the pages, searching for missing notes or altered entries. His fingers tremble as he finds the sticky note. Keep demographics balanced. He crumples it, tossing it into the wastebasket, but the words echo in his mind. Gregory glances at the security camera in the corner, its red light blinking steadily. He wonders if anyone has been watching, if his routines have been observed. His phone buzzes with a message from a council member. Heard anything about the Carters? Gregory's reply is terse, his jaw clenched. Nothing unusual. As the day wears on, his discomfort grows. He notices staff exchanging glances. A maintenance worker pausing in the hallway, a receptionist typing a message, and quickly closing her laptop when he walks by. The usual sense of control slips away, replaced by a creeping anxiety. He recalls his father's voice, stern and dismissive warnings about letting the wrong people get too close. For the first time, those words feel hollow, even dangerous. Gregory's hands shake as he pours himself a glass of water, spilling a few drops onto his tie. He tries to focus on the day's tasks, but his mind keeps circling back to the missing janitor, the slightly shifted items, the feeling that the walls are closing in. The confidence that once filled his office now feels brittle, ready to shatter at the slightest touch. Gregory sits back, staring at the door, waiting for a knock that never comes. Gregory's phone vibrates on his desk, the screen lighting up with a news alert. He swipes to unlock, eyes narrowing as the headline flashes. Local family revives. Civic project. Below it, a photo of James and Naomi Carter smiling in front of blueprints fills the screen. Gregory's grip tightens, knuckles whitening. He scrolls through the article, reading each line twice. The story details how the Carters acquired a dormant development firm and plan to finish the community center abandoned years ago. Quotes from neighbors and city officials praise their vision and commitment. Gregory's jaw works a muscle, twitching as he reads a line about restoring hope where it was once denied. His phone buzzes again, a terse message from a council member. Explain this. Gregory types a reply, then deletes it, unable to find the right words. He glances out his window, spotting a group of employees gathered around a computer, their laughter subdued but unmistakable. The receptionist catches his eye through the glass, quickly looking away. He stands, pacing the length of his office, the news article open on his phone. Each step feels heavier, the floor less steady. He remembers the confidence he felt dismissing the Carters, the certainty that nothing would change. Now the power dynamic has shifted, quietly and completely. A maintenance worker enters to empty the trash, pausing when he sees Gregory's expression. The worker nods, respectful but distant, and leaves without a word. Gregory sits back down, the office suddenly colder, the sunlight outside feeling far away. He reads the headline once more, the words blurring. The Carters' success is no longer a distant possibility. It's a public fact, undeniable and irreversible. Gregory's world, once so secure, now feels fragile, every achievement overshadowed by the quiet rise of those he tried to keep out. Evelyn sits at her desk, headphones on, eyes narrowed as she reviews hours of security footage. She pauses, rewinds, and listens again. Gregory's voice is clear, instructing staff in a closed-door meeting. Keep the complex demographically balanced. We can't have too many from one group, understand. The staff exchange uneasy glances, one woman biting her lip, another scribbling notes without looking up. Evelyn saves the clip, her hands steady despite the gravity of what she's found. She forwards the recording to James and Naomi, attaching a simple message. This is it. The Carters listen together, the words landing like a punch. Naomi's expression hardens. James exhales slowly, anger and vindication mingling in his chest. Across the complex, tenants gather in small groups, phones in hand, watching the leaked video. The hallway is thick with tension. A young man shakes, his head muttering. So that's why my cousin never got a call back. An older woman wipes her eyes, whispering to her neighbor, we always knew, but now everyone else will too. Gregory learns of the leak from a flurry of emails and texts, his inbox overflowing with questions and demands for explanations. He storms into the staff room, finding his employees clustered around a laptop. The room falls silent as he enters. One staff member, usually quick to greet, avoids his gaze. Clutching her phone so tightly her knuckles pale, he tries to speak, but the words catch. There's context you don't understand, he insists, but no one responds. The staff disperse, quietly leaving Gregory alone with the echo of his own instructions. The walls feel closer, the office air heavier. News spreads quickly. Whispers of lawsuits and council investigations ripple through the building. For the first time, Gregory feels the weight of his decisions pressing in from all sides. The system he controlled is unraveling, thread by thread, exposed by a single recording and the courage to share it. The morning air is crisp as groups of tenants gather outside the complex, holding stacks of denied applications like silent banners. Layla leads the way, her toy robot tucked under one arm, its red light blinking steadily. The crowd moves forward in unison, their footsteps a quiet but powerful rhythm against the pavement. No chants, no shouts, just a determined collective presence that fills the street. Neighbors lean out of windows, some nodding in support, others watching with wary eyes. The receptionist steps outside briefly, her face unreadable as she watches the procession pass. Gregory peers through the blinds, his expression tight, jaw clenched. The blinds close slowly, cutting off the view and the light. A young mother walks beside a veteran, their hands brushing briefly in solidarity. The air is thick with unspoken stories-age person carrying the weight of exclusion, the sting of rejection. A whispered conversation between two elderly residents recalls years of overlooked pleas and broken promises. The march is a living testament to resilience, a quiet refusal to be erased. Journalists arrive, cameras capturing the scene's solemn dignity. A reporter's voice breaks the stillness. This is more than a protest, it's a statement of survival. The crowd's silence speaks louder than any slogan, a powerful rebuke to the system that sought to keep them out. Gregory's office remains dark, the blinds drawn tight. The once unshakable man sits alone, the echo of footsteps outside a constant reminder of the shifting tide. The community's quiet defiance has become impossible to ignore. As the march winds down, the group disperses slowly, their resolve unbroken. Layla looks up at her parents, eyes bright with hope. The fight is far from over, but the steps taken today have already begun to change the story. An unmarked envelope arrives at City Hall, slipped through a side door before dawn. Inside are copies of Gregory's ledger, a USB drive with the robot's recording, and the veteran's repeatedly denied application. The councilwoman's aide, a black woman once brushed aside by Gregory, finds the package on her desk. She reads the cover letter, her hands steady, eyes narrowing as she scans the evidence. She walks the documents straight to the councilwoman's office, her steps purposeful. The councilwoman reviews each item in silence, her expression shifting from disbelief to anger. "We've waited long enough," she says quietly, signing the request for a formal investigation. The aide nods, relieved, and resolves mingling. In her posture, word spreads quickly through City Hall. Staff gather in corners, murmuring about the contents of the envelope. Some recall Gregory's dismissive comments in meetings. Others remember the faces of tenants who never got a fair hearing. The system's gears, long rusted by neglect, begin to turn. Gregory receives a summons for an emergency hearing. His hands tremble as he reads the notice, the official seal stark against the white paper. He tries calling allies on the council, but his calls go unanswered. The receptionist at City Hall, who once greeted him with forced politeness, now meets his gaze without flinching. Meanwhile, the Carters and their neighbors receive word of the investigation. Naomi lets out a breath she didn't know she was holding. James hugs Layla, his voice quiet but proud. "They can't ignore us now." Evelyn sends a message to the group. This is just the beginning. The councilwoman's aide watches Gregory enter the building, his confident stride replaced by uncertainty. She doesn't look away this time. The balance of power has shifted. For the first time, the system is forced to confront the truth delivered, not with noise, but with evidence and courage. The council chamber fills slowly, the air thick with anticipation. Members take their seats, murmurs fading into a heavy quiet. Gregory adjusts his tie, avoiding the Carters' steady gaze. James sets up a projector, Naomi's hands steadying blueprints with calm precision. Layla clutches her blinking robot, its red light a silent witness. The gavel strikes, echoing through the room, signaling the start. The weight of unspoken reckonings presses down, the space charged with tension. Eyes flicker between the Carters and Gregory, the old guard, and the new challenge. A councilwoman shifts in her seat, fingers tightening around her pen. The room holds its breath, the moment stretching taut. The projector's glow casts long shadows, illuminating the evidence about to unfold. The stillness is not empty, it is the calm before the storm. Gregory's jaw tightens, a vein pulsing at his temple. His polished facade begins to crack, the veneer of control slipping. The Carters sit poised, their quiet strength a stark contrast. Layla's robot blinks steadily, a beacon of innocence amid the charged atmosphere. The councilwoman clears her throat, breaking the tension. She glances at Gregory, then at the Carters, her voice steady but firm. "We are here to address the truth that has long been ignored." The room shifts, the weight of history pressing down. James clicks the remote, and the projector flickers to life, casting images and documents across the wall. Faces of denied applicants, red stamps, and the ledger's pages fill the room. Murmurs ripple through the council members, the evidence undeniable. Gregory's hands clenched into fists, his breath shallow. He swallows hard, the veneer of control slipping further. Naomi's eyes meet his calm and unwavering. The chamber feels smaller, the walls closing in on the old guard. The scene closes on the Carters' faces, resolute and ready. As the chamber holds its breath for what comes next, James stands at the front of the chamber, remote in hand, eyes steady as he faces the council. The projector hums to life, casting a harsh white light across the room. On the screen, security footage plays Gregory in a closed-door meeting instructing staff to keep the complex demographically balanced. His words, once spoken in private, now echo for all to hear. A ripple moves through the audience. Council members shift in their seats, some exchanging uneasy glances. The councilwoman leans forward, her pen stilled above her notepad. Naomi watches Gregory, her expression unreadable, but her posture radiates strength. Layla's robot sits on the table, its blinking light reflecting off the polished surface. A silent reminder of the innocence at stake. Gregory's face flushes, the confident mask slipping. He tries to speak, voice strained. That clip is out. Of context, you don't understand, James interrupts, his tone calm but unyielding. We understand exactly what was said, and so does everyone else. He advances the slides, denied applications, the ledger's incriminating entries, the veterans file. Each image lands with the weight of a verdict. A reporter snaps a photo, the flash momentarily illuminating Gregory's clenched jaw. The receptionist from the complex, sitting in the back, lowers her gaze, regret flickering in her eyes. A maintenance worker shifts uncomfortably, remembering the day he was told to prioritize certain applicants. The councilwoman addresses Gregory directly, her voice cool. "Do you deny these are your words, your policies?" Gregory's reply falters, his hands gripping the edge of the table. I was following standard practices. It wasn't personal." The words ring hollow, exposed by the evidence on the wall. James lets the silence linger, then closes the presentation. "This is not about paperwork, it's about people." The chamber absorbs his words, the balance of power shifting. The truth, once hidden, now shines unfiltered in the glare of the projector. Gregory sits rigid at the council table, sweat beading along his hairline. His fingers drum a frantic rhythm on the wood, betraying nerves he can no longer hide. A vein throbs at his temple, visible even from the back row. The chamber's eyes are on him. Waiting for a response he can't seem to muster. He reaches for his water glass, hand trembling, and spills a few drops onto his notes. The ink blurs, spreading across the page, a small disaster that feels much larger in the hush of the room. He dabs at the mess with a napkin, jaw clenched, but the stain only grows. A councilman leans forward, voice measured. "Mr. Hartwell, do you have anything to say for yourself?" Gregory's mouth opens, but nothing comes out at first. He swallows, searching for composure. These accusations, they're exaggerated. Iowa Jossie falters, the words dying in his throat as the projector's images replay in his mind. James watches from across the table, gaze unwavering. Naomi's eyes never leave Gregory's face, her calm presence a silent challenge. Layla, seated between her parents, clutches her robot, sensing the tension but not fully understanding it. A reporter scribbles furiously, capturing every detail of Gregory's unraveling. The receptionist from the complex sits in the gallery, her hands twisting a handkerchief, guilt and relief mingling in her expression. The maintenance worker, arms folded, nods slightly, validation for every slight endured. Gregory tries again, voice cracking. "I never meant this isn't." He stops, realizing the futility. The chamber holds its collective breath, the only sound a soft hum of the projector and the distant click of a camera. The councilwoman's pen snaps in her grip, the sharp sound slicing through the tension. Gregory's composure, once his armor, is gone. All that remains is a man exposed, his vanity crumbling under the weight of truth. A hush falls as an older man in a faded jacket rises from the back row. The medals on his chest catch the light, drawing every eye in the chamber. He holds a battered application in one hand, his grip firm despite the tremor in his fingers. Gregory's gaze drops, unable to meet the veteran's stare. The man's voice is rough but steady. "You said I wasn't stable enough for your building. 3 times I filled out these forms. 3 times I was told to try somewhere else." His words hang in the air, heavy with years of frustration and quiet dignity. A councilman shifts in his seat, discomfort clear in his posture. Naomi nods to the veteran, silent encouragement in her expression. Layla watches wide-eyed, sensing the importance of the moment. James leans forward, respect etched across his face. The veteran continues, his tone unwavering. "I served this country. I paid my dues. All I wanted was a safe place to live." He holds up the application, the red stamp glaring against the worn paper. "But you saw me as trouble, not as a neighbor." Gregory's pen snaps between his fingers, ink seeping onto his palm. He wipes it on his trousers, jaw clenched, but says nothing. The maintenance worker in the gallery nods slowly, a small smile breaking through years of bitterness. A councilwoman clears her throat, her voice gentle. "Thank you for your service and your courage." The veteran inclines his head, his eyes never leaving Gregory's. "I'm not the only one," he says quietly. "There are dozens more." The chamber is silent, the power dynamic shifted. For the first time, the voices once dismissed now fill the room, undeniable. Gregory sits smaller in his chair, the weight of every denial settling on his shoulders. Steps forward, placing her toy robot on the podium with careful hands. The red light on its chest blinks steadily, drawing every eye in the chamber. The room grows still, tension thickening as Naomi stands at her daughter's side. James moves closer, his presence quiet but unwavering. The council members lean in, sensing the gravity of what's about to unfold. A crackle from the robot's speaker breaks the hush. Gregory's voice, unmistakable and sharp, fills the chamber. They'll ruin the neighborhood. Mark them for extra screening. Don't waste time. The words hang in the air, heavy and damning. A gasp ripples through the audience. One councilwoman covers her mouth, shock etched across her face. The receptionist from the complex sits in the back, hands balled tightly in her lap, staring at the floor. A maintenance worker, arms folded, nods once validation for every slight endured. Naomi rests a steady hand on Layla's shoulder, her voice calm but resolute. This is the truth we've carried for too long. James stands beside them, his eyes locked on Gregory, years of quiet struggle reflected in his gaze. Gregory shifts in his seat, color rising in his cheeks as the innocence of a child's toy exposes the cruelty of his words. He tries to speak, but his voice catches, lost in the weight of the evidence. A reporter snaps a photo, the flash briefly illuminating the tension in the room. The councilwoman finds her voice, cutting through the murmurs. This evidence is undeniable. It speaks louder than any testimony. Gregory's mouth opens, but no words come. The silence that follows is heavy, not empty, a reckoning in progress. Layla looks up at her parents, confusion and hope mingling in her eyes. Naomi kneels, whispering, "We will make sure this changes everything." James nods, the promise of justice clear in his steady gaze. The robot's red light blinks once more, a symbol of innocence and the power of truth. The Carters stand, united, ready for what comes next. James steps forward, holding the thick ledger uncovered from Gregory's office. He opens it to a bookmarked page, the columns of figures and names projected onto the chamber wall. "These are the rent increases," he says, voice steady. Each spike matches a minority application. He flips to another page, highlighting a pattern, families of color, consistently targeted with sudden hikes or unexplained fees. The council members study the numbers, their faces tightening as the evidence mounts. A graph appears on the screen, the peaks and valleys, impossible to ignore. Naomi points to a series of entries, her voice calm but pointed. This isn't random, it's deliberate. The room absorbs her words, the impact settling in. Gregory's lawyer leans over, whispering urgently, but Gregory shakes his head, pride outweighing caution. He tries to speak, but the councilwoman cuts him off. We see the pattern. We see the intent. Her tone is final, the authority in her voice unshakable. A staff member in the gallery, who once processed applications, raises a hand. "I was told to flag certain files," she admits, voice trembling. "I'm sorry." The admission lands with a thud, the chamber shifting as complicity turns to confession. James closes the ledger, meeting Gregory's eyes. "You built a system to keep us out. Now everyone can see it." Gregory's hands tighten on the table, knuckles pale, but he doesn't respond. The maintenance worker in the back lets out a slow breath, the years of frustration easing just a little. The councilwoman nods to James, gratitude in her expression. "Thank you for bringing this to light." Naomi stands beside him, her presence a quiet force. The Carters' evidence has turned suspicion into certainty, the numbers stripping away every excuse. The room falls quiet, the truth laid bare for all to see. The balance of power has shifted, and there is no going back. The councilwoman lifts her gavel, pausing as the room holds its collective breath. Her eyes sweep over the chamber, settling first on the Carters, then on Gregory. The tension is electric, every person aware that something irreversible is about to unfold. She brings the gavel down with a sharp, decisive strike. "Enough," she declares, her voice ringing out. "Mr. Hartwell, your property licenses are hereby revoked." A wave of murmurs ripples through the audience. Reporters surge forward, cameras flashing as they capture the moment. Gregory's chair scrapes loudly against the floor as he stands, face drained of color. He looks around, searching for support, but finds none. His lawyer gathers papers in silence, avoiding his gaze. James stands tall, Naomi's hand resting gently on his arm. Layla clings to her father's side, her robot pressed close to her chest. The receptionist exhales, relief softening her features. For the first time, Gregory tries to speak, but his words falter. "This isn't fair." Gregory's shoulders sag, the weight of consequence settling on him at last. A councilman leans in, voice low but clear. "You built walls. Now watch them come down." James looks at Naomi, gratitude and resolve mingling in his eyes. Layla glances up, sensing the shift, even if she doesn't fully understand. The gavel's echo lingers, a sound that signals not just an ending, but a beginning. The Carters stand together, surrounded by a community that finally feels seen. The balance of power has shifted, and the future belongs to those who refuse to be silent. Gregory strides out of the council chamber, posture rigid, face pale but still holding on to a shred of defiance. His polished shoes strike the marble steps, each echo a fading reminder of the power slipping away. Halfway down, his heel catches on a crack. He stumbles, steadying himself against a community renewal poster taped to the wall. For a moment, he lingers, eyes tracing the bold letters before he looks away. Jaw clenched behind him, the Carters remain in the lobby, exchanging firm handshakes with the veteran who spoke up. The crowd murmurs, a current of relief and quiet. Triumph rippling through the space. Gregory's muttered excuses, a soft, almost inaudible, are lost in the rising chorus of support for change. He glances back once, catching the scene. Naomi returning a tentative smile from a young woman in the crowd. Layla tugging at her father's sleeve, eyes wide with a mix of curiosity and hope. James kneels, brushing a stray lock of hair from Layla's face. His voice is low but steady, meant only for her. "This is just the beginning." Layla nods, clutching her robot, her gaze bright with possibility. Naomi stands tall beside them, her presence calm and unwavering. Gregory's gaze flickers. Back to the gathering, a flicker of regret crossing his features. He turns away, swallowed by the shadows at the building's entrance. The marble steps beneath his feet gleam in the afternoon sun, reflecting a new era rising from the ruins of the old. The receptionist stands in the doorway, her expression unreadable but softer than before. Nearby, a maintenance worker leans against the wall, arms crossed, a small, satisfied smile on his lips. The air is thick with the unspoken promise of transformation. The sense that something fundamental has shifted as Gregory disappears from view. The camera lingers on the community renewal poster, its edges curling but its message clear. Change is inevitable, and the old guard's time has passed. The scene closes on the Carters, standing together, their silhouettes framed by the city's skyliner, testament to resilience and quiet victory. Lot, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows across the pavement. He fumbles with his keys, distracted by the weight of what's just unfolded. A woman in a crisp suit approaches, her steps unhurried. She stops in front of him, holding out a thick envelope. "Mr. Hartwell, you've been served. Bank foreclosure." Her tone is professional, but there's no sympathy in her eyes. Gregory takes the envelope, his hands unsteady. He tears it open, scanning the legal jargon, the reality settling in with every line. His luxury complexity, symbol of his status, is no longer his. He looks up, blinking against the glare, and sees construction crews across the street, unloading new signs. Carter Community Homes. Naomi stands nearby, directing workers. Watching Gregory for a moment before walking away, he glances at the keys in his hand, their weight suddenly unbearable. He closes his fist around them, knuckles whitening, but there's nowhere left to go. The maintenance worker from the complex passes by, tipping his cap with a quiet note acknowledgement of a shift long overdue. Gregory's phone buzzes, with messages he ignores. He stands motionless, watching as the Carter family's vision takes shape where his own legacy crumbles. Naomi meets his gaze for a brief second, her expression steady, offering neither gloat nor pity, only the reality of change. A gust of wind sends a few foreclosure papers fluttering to the ground. Gregory bends to pick them up, hands shaking, but the pages slip through his fingers. Across the street, James helps Layla plant a small flag in the dirt, marking the beginning of something new. Gregory turns away, shoulders hunched, the envelope pressed to his chest. The world he built has been dismantled, not with noise, but with quiet, relentless truth. James stands at the edge of the construction site, dust swirling around his boots as demolition crews clear the last of Gregory's abandoned highways. The air is thick with the scent of concrete and hope. Naomi joins him, blueprints in hand, her gaze steady as she surveys the empty lot. Layla skips ahead, planting a tiny flag in the rubble, her laughter rising above the rumble of machinery. Workers gather, some from the neighborhood, others new to the project, all sharing a sense of purpose. Naomi unrolls the plans, pointing out where the new playground will go, where families will gather, where gardens will bloom. James nods, the vision coming to life in his mind. "We're not just building homes," he says quietly to Naomi, "we're building a future." Layla kneels in the dirt, pressing her flag deep into the ground. A maintenance worker from the old complex joins her, handing her a small trowel. "You're starting something big," he says with a smile. Layla beams, pride shining in her. AI's Naomi snaps a photo, capturing the momentous symbol of resilience and new beginnings. Across the street, Gregory watches from the shadows, keys dangling uselessly from his hand. The sound of progress drowns out his presence, the community's energy leaving no room for regret. A reporter interviews James, her questions focused on hope and healing. "What do you want people to remember?" she asks. James glances at Layla, then at the workers raising the first wall. "That we turned what was meant to divide us into something that brings us together." As the sun sets, the first brick is laid, sturdy and sure. Naomi places her hand on James's shoulder, the two of them standing side by side, watching the foundation take shape. The camera pans out, cranes lifting new beams against the sky, a community rising from the ruins, unstoppable in its quiet strength. Booth, the morning light catching dust motes in the air. His suit, once a symbol of authority, looks out of place against the faded vinyl and chipped formica. He scrolls through foreclosure listings on his phone, each new alert tightening the knot in his chest. The waitress, a black woman he once dismissed, with a wave pours coffee for other customers but passes by his table without a glance. Across the street, the Carter Community Homes banner flutters in the breeze, bright and inviting. No appeal. He sets it aside, hands trembling. The chatter of the diner continues around him, but he feels invisible, the center of a world that no longer acknowledges his presence. The waitress returns, refilling cups at the next booth. Gregory clears his throat, but she moves on, her expression unchanged. He glances at the window again, watching Naomi direct a team of volunteers as they unload supplies. Layla runs past, laughing, her robot held high. James stands beside them, waving to neighbors, his posture relaxed and confident. For a moment, Gregory considers leaving, but he stays rooted in place, unable to look away from the life unfolding, just beyond his reach. The waitress finally pauses at his table, setting down the check without a word. Gregory nods, a silent acknowledgement passing between them. He counts out bills, leaving them neatly stacked, and stands to go. As he steps outside, the sounds of the diner fade, replaced by the distant laughter of children and the steady rhythm of hammers rebuilding what he once tried to keep apart. The old for rent sign comes down, replaced by a bold new banner, Carter Community Homes applications open. Layla stands at the front, scissors in hand, her toy robot tucked under her arm. The crowd gathers, families once turned away, neighbors who watched from a distance, and children holding hands, their faces alight with cautious hope. Murmurs ripple through the air, a quiet celebration of progress that once seemed impossible. Naomi adjusts the banner, sure and calm. She catches sight of Gregory's car parked across the street, his grip rigid on the steering wheel. His scowl deepens as he watches the community he tried to keep out come together. The gates he guarded now open for all. The air is thick with a sense of possibility. The old barriers replaced by laughter and new beginnings. Families step forward, receiving keys and warm greetings. A single mother wipes tears from her cheeks as her asthmatic son bolts toward the new playground. His joy, unrestrained, volunteers unload boxes of supplies, their laughter ringing out as they set up tables and plant flowers. The community breathes easier, the weight of exclusion lifting with every handshake and embrace. Gregory remains in his car, tension etched into every line of his face. The receptionist from the complex walks by, her expression softer, pride flickering. In her eyes, as she watches the transformation, the maintenance worker leans against a nearby wall, arms folded, a quiet smile curving his lips as he takes in the scene. The camera lingers on Layla, her eyes shining with promise. The robot's red light blinks steadily, a small beacon of resilience and innocence. As the ribbon falls away, and the banner flutters in the breeze, the moment is sealed a symbol of change. Of doors finally opened, and of a community reclaiming its place. A single mother stands at the front of the line, her breath caught somewhere between disbelief and relief. Naomi greets her with a gentle smile, pressing a new apartment key into her palm. The woman's hands tremble as she accepts it, knuckles white round the cold metal. Her young son, clutching an inhaler, looks up at her. Eyes wide with anticipation, she kneels, unlocking the door to their new home. The boy darts inside, laughter echoing down the hallway as he explores every corner. Naomi follows, pausing in the doorway, her gaze softening as she watches the family settle in. The mother's tears fall freely, now tears of joy, of exhaustion, of finally being seen. Outside, neighbors gather, offering congratulations and small gifts. Layla stands nearby, her robot at her side, watching the boys spin in circles on the new playground. James joins Naomi, his arm around her shoulders. "This is what it's about," he says quietly. Naomi nods, her heart full. Across the street, Gregory sits in his car, engine idling. He watches the scene unfold, his scowl faltering as he witnesses the genuine happiness blooming in the courtyard. For a fleeting moment, regret flickers in his eyes, quickly masked by a forced indifference. He grips the steering wheel tighter, then pulls away. The sound of children's laughter chasing him down the block. The maintenance worker, carrying a box of tools, pauses to offer the mother a reassuring nod. The receptionist, arms full of welcome packets, knocks gently on the open door. "If you need anything, just ask," she says, her voice softer than before. The mother closes her eyes, clutching the key to her chest, her son's laughter filling the space. The key's jingle is more than a sound, it's a promise that the cycle of exclusion has finally been broken. The Carters watch, hope and pride shining in their eyes as a new chapter begins for everyone. The community center buzzes with anticipation. Rows of folding chairs filled with new tenants, longtime neighbors, and city officials. Naomi stands at the front, her voice clear as she welcomes everyone to the first town hall under Carter Community Homes. James sits beside her, Layla on his lap, the robot's red light blinking quietly. A white mother stands up, her hands shaking slightly as she speaks. "My kids finally have a park to play in. For years, we watched from the fence. Thank you for seeing us, for letting us belong." Her words draw nods and murmurs of agreement from the crowd. Naomi smiles, humility and gratitude mingling in her eyes. James rises, addressing the room with quiet conviction. "This isn't just about new buildings, it's about trust, about dignity. We're here to listen. If you have ideas, if you have needs." Layla leans into her father's side, her presence a reminder of what's at stake for every family in the room. Applause breaks out, warm and sustained. The sound fills the hall, echoing off the high ceilings and settling into the hearts of everyone. Present, Naomi glances at the back row, spotting Gregory's empty seat. Its absence is a silent testament to the changes rippling through the community. The maintenance worker stands, offering a brief but heartfelt thank you, distributes welcome packets, her demeanor transformed by the collective spirit in the room. A city official shakes James's hand, promising support for future projects. Outside, children run across the new playground, their laughter floating through open windows. The Carters step down from the stage, greeted by hugs and handshakes. Naomi exchanges a look, with James' relief, pride, and the knowledge that their fight has made a difference. As the applause fades, the sense of unity lingers. The community, once fractured by exclusion, now stands together. Ready to shape its own future, Gregory walks slowly down the gravel driveway, the weight of his losses pressing down on him like a physical burden. His polished shoes crunch against the stones, each step echoing the emptiness growing inside. He clutches the keys to his mansion tightly, the cold metal a stark contrast to the warmth and control he once commanded. A black banker stands nearby, clipboard in hand, waiting patiently. Gregory hands over the keys with a stiff nod, his face a mask of reluctant acceptance and fading pride. The banker smiles gently, hanging a bright-souled sign on the gate. Around them, the neighborhood buzzes with new life construction crews, busy at work, children playing near freshly planted trees, and neighbors greeting one another with hopeful smiles. Carter Community Homes is no longer just a name, it is a promise being fulfilled. Gregory's shadow stretches long in the fading light, thin and fragile against the vibrant backdrop of renewal. He pauses, looking back once more at the place he lost, the silence around him louder than any words. The mansion, once a symbol of his power, now feels like a relic of a past slipping away. Inside a nearby cafe, the waitress who once served Gregory with indifference now exchanges warm greetings. With residents, the air is filled with laughter and hope, a stark contrast to the isolation Gregory feels. She watches him from a distance, her eyes reflecting a mixture of pity and quiet satisfaction. Gregory's phone buzzes with messages he ignores, the weight of his downfall pressing heavier with each passing moment. He sits alone, the din of the cafe fading into the background as he contemplates the new reality. The camera lingers on Gregory's retreating figure, the crunch of gravel underfoot fading as the scene closes on the rising sun over the new community. The light spills over the freshly painted walls, the playground filled with children's laughter, a testament to resilience and the quiet power of change. Layla kneels in the soft earth near the entrance of Carta Community Homes, her small hands covered in dirt as she presses flower bulbs into the ground. Naomi crouches beside her, guiding her daughter's hands, both of them focused and content. The sun is warm on their backs, and laughter drifts from the playground, where children, some new, some old, chase each other across the grass. A white neighbor approaches, holding a packet of wildflower seeds. She kneels next to Layla, offering the seeds with a gentle smile. "Mind if I help?" Layla grins, nodding eagerly. Together, they scatter seeds, their hands working side by side. Naomi watches the exchange, her heart swelling with hope as she sees the barriers of difference crumble in the shared act of planting nearby. James chats with a group of volunteers, discussing plans for a community vegetable patch. The maintenance worker brings over a watering can, helping Layla and her new friend give the freshly planted bulbs their first drink. The receptionist, arms full of gardening gloves, distributes them to anyone who wants to join in. Each person finds a small way to contribute, their efforts weaving a new tapestry of belonging. Inside his apartment, Gregory stands at the window, watching the scene unfold. The walls around him are bare, the rooms echoing with emptiness. He sees Layla's garden growing, the colors bright against the backdrop of fresh paint and new beginnings. For a moment, regret flickers across his face, but he turns away. Unable to face the community he once tried to keep apart, Layla pats the soil down, her hands muddy but her smile radiant. Naomi hugs her, whispering, "Look what you've started." The garden will bloom in the weeks to come, a living reminder that change, like flowers, grows from the smallest seeds, nurtured by hope and the courage to begin again. In the city council chamber, sunlight streams through tall windows, illuminating stacks of new housing legislation on polished desks. The councilwoman who once led the investigation sits at the head of the table, James's pen in hand, as she signs the Fair Housing Bill into law. Her signature is bold, a mark of commitment and change. Council members exchange nods, their faces a mix of relief and pride. The room is quieter than usual, the gravity of the moment settling over everyone present. Naomi stands at the back, arms folded, watching as years of struggle finally yield progress. A reporter quietly snaps photos, capturing the council's resolve and the Carter's presence. The maintenance worker from the complex sits in the gallery, his eyes bright with satisfaction. The receptionist, now working as a community liaison, hands out copies of the new policy to tenants waiting outside. Each document is a promise. No more hidden barriers, no more arbitrary denials. Gregory, watching the televised vote from a motel room, flips through channels in frustration. The news anchor's voice is clear. Carter Community Homes, once a symbol of exclusion, now leads the city in inclusive housing. Gregory's reflection in the screen looks older, diminished by the world moving on without him. Outside the council chamber, James and Naomi are greeted by neighbors and supporters. Layla runs up, waving a copy of the new policy, her robot's red light blinking with excitement. The city feels different, more open, more hopeful. Naomi hugs her daughter, whispering, "This is for you, for everyone." The councilwoman steps outside, shaking James's hand. "Thank you for holding us accountable," she says. James nods, humility in his eyes. The policy shift is more than words on paper. It's the foundation for a future where every family has a fair chance to belong. The scene closes on the council's doors, opening wide, sunlight spilling into the hallway and the community stepping forward together. James stands atop the new community garden, the golden light of sunset painting the buildings in warm hues. Layla races across the playground, her laughter mingling with the shouts of friends' children from every background, united by new beginnings. Naomi joins James, slipping her hand into his, their wedding bands catching the last rays of the day. Neighbors gather on balconies and benches, sharing stories and smiles. The maintenance worker waters a patch of wildflowers, pausing to wave at Layla as she plants another seed. The receptionist, now a trusted friend, organizes a small potluck, laughter and music drifting through open windows. The air is filled with the scent of fresh soil and blooming hope. James watches the transformation, memories of exclusion and struggle flickering in his mind. He glances at Naomi, gratitude and pride in his eyes. "They thought they buried us," he murmurs, voice soft but sure. Naomi squeezes his hand, her gaze fixed on their daughter. "We were seeds," she replies, a quiet affirmation of all they've built. Across the street, Gregory stands in the shadows, his presence barely noticed. He watches the community thrive, the walls he once guarded now covered in murals and flowers. Regret lingers in his posture, but the world moves forward, leaving him behind as the sun dips below the horizon. The camera pans out. Cranes lift new beams, children's laughter rises, and the lights of Carter community homes flicker on, one by one. The community, once fractured by prejudice, now pulses with unity and possibility. Layla kneels in the garden, pressing another seed into the earth. Naomi kneels beside her, whispering encouragement. James looks on, the weight of the past replaced by hope for the future. The scene closes on the garden in bloom, a living testament to resilience, dignity, and the quiet power of change.